Good morning, viewers. Welcome to On the Spot, and I'll be your host for today. My name is Aleta Shikololo, and on today's show, we have the British High Commissioner, Mr. Charles Moore. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Aleta.
Well, on today's show, we'll basically be discussing issues regarding the revocation of the visa-free entry into the UK by the Namibians. So I would just like to find out, were there perhaps any consultations with the Namibian government before the visa announcement?
Yeah. Yes, there were. And in fact, we've been speaking to the Namibian government. We've been working together to see if we can address the issue of asylum seekers. So Namibian nationals who arrive in the UK and claim asylum. And that's increased significantly over the past few years. So in 2016, there were 27 asylum seekers. Last year, that went up to 651. And in the first 3 months of this year, there were 382. So this year is sort of on target to be more than double of last year's total. And we've had regular discussions both here in Windhoek and through the Namibian High Commission in London about what we can do about it, if there's anything we can do about it. But also, we're both concerned about the issue. So this isn't something that the UK is concerned about on its own. I mean, Namibia is also concerned about it. So yes, we've had regular discussions. Unfortunately, there's no other solution that's readily available to stop people travelling to claim asylum. Namibia is a very free, democratic, safe country, and everybody's right to travel is not restricted, which is quite right. And so it's very difficult to try and stop the flow of people who are trying to reach the UK and claim asylum, probably for the purpose of just getting a job or for economic migrancy reasons, because there's no reason for anybody to claim asylum from Namibia. There's no persecution. There's no arbitrary imprisonment. There's no conflict. There's no famine. There's no wars. So, those are the reasons why people normally claim asylum, and none of them apply to Namibia. So the number of people turning up and claiming asylum from Namibia is quite a big concern to both our governments.
All right. And earlier this year, you have also mentioned that 90% of Namibians in the United Kingdom will be deported back to the country. So how far is that? How far is that process?
Well, it's a good chance to clarify this because, the situation is that since 2008, 91% of all asylum claims made by Namibian nationals have been declined. When an asylum claim is determined and it's declined, then the UK government will ask that person to leave the country voluntarily because they've got no reason to stay there any longer. They've outlived their entitlement to be in the UK. And so they're not automatically deported. We ask them to leave. If they don't leave, then we can deport them. There's no regular process of deportation. It's an ongoing issue where we hope that the person will leave because their application has been declined. But if they don't, we then have to take it to the next step. And they could be liable to arrest because then they will have broken our laws. They could be liable to arrest and deportation. And indeed, the same happened in Namibia here. We had a British citizen who had overstayed their visa significantly earlier this year, and they were arrested and deported. So we do it. It happens in every country.
But do you think it will by any chance compromise the bilateral relationship between the two governments?
No, I don't think so, because, I think, as I said, this is a concern to both of us. We, in the UK, we understand that there are no reasonable grounds for anybody to claim asylum from Namibia. And I think it's important to get that message across because, Namibia's international reputation is really important to Namibia, certainly, but also to us. And it's not doing Namibia's international reputation much good if there are thousands of people turning up in a third country and claiming asylum claiming that they're being persecuted just for the purpose of getting into the country. That's not doing Namibia's international reputation any good. So if we can help prevent that or stop it, that will solidify Namibia's reputation, and it will prevent the number of people who are travelling to the UK to try and find employment or something, because a lot of these people can't afford it. They take out massive loans, they borrow from family members, they sell cattle, they sell their belongings, in the hope of just paying for a plane ticket and then getting a job in the UK. So, the people involved are people that can least afford to do this. So, I think the relationship between our two countries is very warm, always has been, and we're supporting each other on this. The imposition of a visa regime is standard international practice. There's, Namibians need visas for 127 countries around the world. You need a visa in which to enter as a visitor, and that includes most of your international partners. So the US, the EU, Canada, Russia, China, Venezuela. You need visas for all those countries. And so the fact that the UK has been visa-free is something that we've wanted for many years, and we would like to apply again. This is imposed really to stop the flow of people abusing that visa-free status. And that's a shame, really, because there are many hundreds of Namibian nationals who visit the UK on business or for tourism every year, and they stay within the rules. They don't overstay. They don't claim asylum, and we warmly welcome them. And it's those people who are going to effectively suffer by having to now apply for a visa and pay for a visa, which makes it more complex. And so, we apologise to them for the imposition. But I hope that people will understand that we have to address the issue of people jumping on a plane, claiming asylum in the UK, and trying to remain there to work.
All right, and obviously this issue has received massive reaction from both the public and the government as well. And there are also discussions or talks that Namibia should also do the same to the UK. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that?
Well, every sovereign country has the right to consider its own border security and to put in place whatever measures they feel are necessary and proportionate for ensuring that their border security is strong. And Namibia has that right as well. It would seem odd if there was if Namibia wanted to impose a visa regime on British nationals. There's no visa regime on EU nationals, on US nationals, on China, Russia, Venezuela, other countries that have a visa regime for Namibian nationals. So it would seem a little bit odd if there was that action taken, but understandable. And as I said, it's absolutely within Namibia's right to consider any reciprocity on this. That having been said, I think the public reaction, the strength of the public reaction, which has been mixed. Some of it has been very negative, understandably. Some has been positive or accepting. And I think the size of the debate following the announcement actually underlines the strength of the relationship. How much people care, how much it means to Namibians and to the Namibian government. And I think, in a way, that's a good thing, because if there hadn't been any debate, I think it would show that the relationship didn't really matter. But I think it does matter to people, and people care deeply about it. I would hope that this wouldn't be maintained for longer than absolutely necessary. So it's something that we continually review, and if within a year or two the situation is much more stable, and we're confident that Namibian nationals won't then try to claim asylum in big numbers, then the visa regime will be lifted again, and that's a goal that we're all working towards. But it's a long process.
Yeah, and there are also sayings that this is soft sanctions on Namibians who attempt to get to the UK for mostly jobs or a better life.
Yeah.
So what's your reaction on that?
Well, it is in effect a sanction on those people. Every asylum seeker that arrives in the UK, and we have 160,000 at the moment, and many of them waiting for asylum decisions. They are a drain on our economy and our resources, and particularly a drain on our asylum system, which is there to provide sanctuary and refuge for people who are fleeing really dreadful conditions. And so, Namibian nationals who don't need to apply for asylum, who have no grounds for asylum, they impose quite a challenge for us in managing them, because we have to manage them. It's our duty of care under the Refugee Conventions. But it's wrong. It takes away the help and assistance and support that we should be providing and do provide to people fleeing much harsher conditions from their own countries. So, in that sense, it is a sanction on them. Unfortunately, it's also a sanction on other Namibian nationals who absolutely abide by our immigration rules, and that's unfortunate. But it's impossible to try and pick and choose on these sort of issues.
All right, and a few years back, the UK's plan to ship off Rwandans immigrants was struck off by the UK court. So is the government still continuing with that program, or how far is it?
Well, they are. I mean, this is a slightly separate issue, but it's related as well with immigration. This is about illegal migration, and so it's people who arrive in the UK illegally to claim asylum, and they are the people that are in scope to be removed to what we call a third country, and in this case, Rwanda. Illegal migration focuses principally on the small boats which cross from France. So people getting to France, then doing really dangerous journeys in small dinghies across the English Channel and arriving on the beach. Those are people who are arriving illegally. And the plan that the government has is to send them to Rwanda and give them no right of asylum in the UK because they've arrived illegally, give them no right of asylum, whereas people who arrive legally in the UK have the legal right to request asylum. And the Namibian nationals who travel to the UK, they're doing so perfectly legally. There's nothing to stop them traveling. And so they're not in scope. We're not talking about sending Namibians to Rwanda unless they were the ones who were crossing in small boats in the channel. So and there's never been a Namibian, I don't think, involved in that sort of attempt to gain access to the UK. So it's a separate issue, but it's related.
I know you say that the two issues are unrelated, but I would like to find out if the UK government is still continuing to ship off the Rwandan immigrants.
Well, we haven't yet started with the dispatch of asylum seekers to Rwanda. There's lots of court actions going on around that issue, so it's not yet finally confirmed. But the intention is still there. The Prime Minister has been very clear in saying that his intention is to stop the small boats crossings, and this is the principal plan that he and the Home Secretary have to address illegal migration.
And all right, just talking about migration, how far is, or let's say, how is it going for the UK people as far as Brexit is concerned?
Well, it hasn't changed. Brexit hasn't changed, although in a way it's allowed us to implement our own policy in terms of addressing migration and other issues, because people are coming to the UK rather than to the EU. And so Brexit simply allowed us to impose our own policies on how we protect and manage our border security.
Okay, so before we wrap up, Commissioner, do you have anything you would like to share with the public regarding the visa issue?
Yeah, well, I'm grateful for the reaction that we've had to the visa imposition, because I think, as I said, it shows that Namibians care deeply about their access to the UK and the relationship with the UK, which is a good thing. It's unfortunate, we regret the inconvenience and the cost that it will incur for the many hundreds of Namibians who don't abuse our immigration system, and we're also aiming to help those people who feel as though they have no other choice but to claim asylum in the UK in order to work, which tarnishes Namibia's reputation because it implies that there is persecution or imprisonment or famine or war or something that makes them flee their country, which absolutely isn't the case. So I think it's something that we are both concerned about, Namibia and the UK. We're both keen, close partners, and I would hope that this will resolve the issue of Namibian nationals claiming asylum in the UK, but otherwise clarify the system for people in travel into the UK.
All right. So thank you so much, Commissioner. And to the viewers, that was the British High Commissioner, Mr. Charles Moore. And thank you for tuning in.